The minutes of the last monetary policy meeting have just been released, and this was, remember, the first meeting under the new RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra, where the 6-member MPC with several new members voted to cut the repo rate by 25 basis points unanimously and chose to retain the stance at neutral. Now, during this meeting, the new governor made it very clear that high growth momentum must be preserved while also maintaining price stability. He said that food inflation outlook is turning decisively positive while voting to cut the repo rate by 25 basis points. However, he also warned about the rising global uncertainties and therefore justified the need for monetary policy to continue with a neutral stance to react to the rapidly evolving macroeconomic environment. Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, the internal member, again from RBI, part of the MPC, said that the February rate cut was the most rational and an appropriate next step for the MPC, which is in line with the sequencing path that the committee has been following, and the confidence from the decline in inflation opened up the headroom for going ahead with this rate cut. He did say, however, the heightened global uncertainty requires the MPC to continue with its neutral stance. Dr. M. Rajeshwar Rao, who substituted for Michael Patra, who's now retired from RBI, said, monetary policy at this juncture needs to maintain flexibility and that there is comfort from inflation coming down, giving RBI the space to act. Dr. Nagesh Kumar interestingly says the MPC could probably have been even more ambitious and opted for a 50 basis point rate cut to send a signal to the markets and private investors in India and outside that India will do whatever it takes to revive economic growth. But he said, given the uncertain environment we're in, perhaps 25 basis was more appropriate, and that is what he voted for, saying that the case for supporting growth could not be overemphasized. Saugata Bhattacharya again says, given the forecast inflation trajectory, the policy repo rate might soon, if not already, become excessively restrictive, and therefore the need to bring down the rates. Professor Ram Singh again saying the persistent duality in CPI perhaps between food and core inflation in recent years calls for the MPC to see through the fluctuations in food prices and deliver this rate cut. We will be speaking exclusively to external MPC member Nagesh Kumar in just a bit. But before that, let me go to my colleague Lata Venkatesh for her take on the MPC minutes. Lata, what stood out for you?
Well, you've summarized everyone's arguments that growth was crying out for some help, and I think Nagesh Kumar made that plea most evocatively. Of course, that there is now more confidence that inflation will come down, and that case also was made very well by the governor. That the Kharif harvest is very good. Vegetable prices are showing signs of coming down. It being winter months, the Rabi harvest gives you confidence that inflation will continue to come down. So the arguments for a rate cut were effectively made by everyone. For me, the one thing that stood out is there is no guarantee of the next cut. If you're looking, the governor and Rajiv Ranjan are all completely silent about what should be the next step. We get some impetus from Mr. Nagesh Kumar's statement, as you pointed out, that the MPC could have even gone for a 50 bips cut, indicating that he's ready for more. But from the other members, that worry about the global environment and the fact that interest rate differential between India and the US is narrowing and inflation differential continue to remain high, that seems to be worrying. At least Saugato is very, very clear about it. Therefore, we will have to wait and see. It does look that there is a lot of sympathy for growth or the lack of effective growth, and there is a lot of acceptance that inflation is headed lower, but we will have to wait and see how much importance the members give in subsequent meetings to the external problem, especially because since then and now, the rupee has depreciated by at least 2% from the time they first met in December to now. And there's a substantial, in fact, even more than 2%. I think we were around 84, 85 at that time, and now we sit at nearly 87. So there has been an over 3% depreciation of the currency, and depreciation brings with it chances of inflation as well. But I think that is best understood by Mr. Nagesh Kumar, who is not just macroeconomics, but also a trade expert. So over to our external member of the MPC, Mr. Nagesh Kumar. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for sparing time for us. I just wanted to ask, because you have said that there is even a scope of thinking about 50 basis, you think more help is needed, and therefore the MPC should persist with more rate cuts even in coming meetings, the external environment notwithstanding.
Well, actually, the last meeting, everybody agreed that we need to support growth. And we also found that we also discussed that how fiscal policy has already done its bit in terms of sustaining the government or public investment, the capex, and also by cutting the tax rates for improving the purchasing power of the middle classes. So fiscal policy had done its bit. Now it was turn of monetary policy to support that revival of growth. And fortunately, the inflation numbers were looking better than in the past two meetings of MPC, and the CPI inflation at 4.3%, which had come after the meeting actually in January, for January, is very sort of comfortable kind of level compared to what it was in October and December. That allowed an elbow room for the monetary policy to consider normalizing the cycle of monetary policy, and with the first rate cut. One could, as I argued, that one could have been a little bit more ambitious, but given the global circumstances, we all agreed that we go step by step, and this moment, 25 basis points. And as the things evolve, maybe we can look at further actions in future.
Mm. So you understand international trade much better than most people I know. Would you worry that if the interest rate differential between India and the dominant currency, the US, narrowed too much, there can be further depreciation pressure, which can be destabilizing? So the monetary policy, better use liquidity steps rather than rate cuts. Would that be an argument at all?
Yes, certainly. I think liquidity management measures are very important. And in December policy, the rate, CRR was cut by 50 basis points. So there is, initiative or action on the liquidity front as well. But now we thought we could support the growth momentum further by having a repo rate cut. And that together, I think the transmission of liquidity to the markets could be further accelerated through the rate cut.
Well, Mr. Nagesh Kumar, on the flip side, since you're arguing about the need to support growth, and we're talking about 6.4% this year, 6.7% this year, and the big sword hanging on the markets at the reciprocal tariffs, perhaps we may not hear the outcome until April. Do you think by the time the next MPC meet happens in March, the committee would use the headroom to steeply bring down rates or cut by 25 basis points? What's your sense as to the next steps?
Well, actually, there is a lot of uncertainty, as the minutes say, and we all agreed about the evolving global, scene, global sort of environment. That trade policy changing very rapidly with the statements coming from United States every day. And so we have to really watch, and hopefully India can manage this with the Prime Minister's visit to United States, which was perceived by everyone as a success. The agreement to launch a bilateral free trade agreement negotiations, which could help India to protect its interests better. And so it may be possible that we are able to sustain our growth recovery in spite of the global challenges or challenging global economic outlook. So there is definitely a reason to be concerned about the global situation. In any case, the world trade and investment rates, growth rates have been rather subdued. And with the new reciprocal tariffs talk and all that, it is, which way it would happen is anybody's guess. So, but I think India, having taken very proactive steps of this summit early on, before major announcements were made, and it's possible that we are able to take care of our interests through the negotiations of bilateral trade agreement between India and United States. We have to really keep watching the situation.
So, Mr. Kumar, Mr. Kumar, that would be a great outcome. But Mr. Trump said he will announce on April 1st or 2nd the result of their consultations and their study. And our MPC next meeting is April 6th, 4 days after this supposed decision that will come from President Trump. It's possible that he will postpone. It is possible he will say that negotiations are on, India is buying more defense and more oil, and therefore, he's ready to look at a later date. But suppose, for argument's sake, that a reciprocal trade tariff increase is announced on April 1st or 2nd, does that jeopardize a rate cut?
Sorry, what was your last sentence?
Will that make you not vote for a rate cut? Will that jeopardize the next rate cut? Assuming April 6th, you all meet on April 6th, right?
Very hard to speculate at this stage, because when we are in the meeting, we have to look at all different parameters, all different contexts, and including the global context. So if we find that we cannot, move ahead in the expected pace, and we need to hold policy decisions, that decision will be taken at that time in the light of the circumstances that we have in front of us. And as you know, the things are evolving on a day-to-day basis. So 45 days from now, what would be the situation? It's very hard to anticipate for anyone.
Well, it is hard to anticipate, but the fact of the matter is that the MPC meeting will happen just days before we finally know the outcome of what US is to do with the reciprocal tariff matter. But quickly, Mr. Kumar, what do you expect the hit on the GDP will be, the hit on inflation will be with these kind of policies coming into play, given India's export relationship with the US?
Yeah, no, I think there are several factors which give to me the confidence that inflation will remain restrained in the coming months. One is that very largely the crude prices determine India's inflation. The transmission from external to internal is through crude prices. And there are expectations that the crude prices will go downwards. We'll see some downward movement because of the Gaza, the Middle East siegefire. There are very bright chances of the Ukraine war also. We have a siegefire in future possibly. And so with these geopolitical conflicts coming to some kind of a resolution, there are chances of oil prices going down. There is another factor, which is United States focusing attention on expanding the output. And that may also be another factor. Global slowdown, in any case, is bringing down the demand. So if the oil prices see a downward movement, then we can expect our own internal price situation to be coming under greater control. We have also seen the agriculture growth has been good, and the vegetable prices, which were a source of worry in the past two meetings, have come down actually. And CPI inflation for January was just 4.3, much better than it was in the previous two meetings I was part of.
Yeah, I take your points, and it looks like things will get only better on the food front. There are also people who believe that if China is blocked out of the US in some goods, they will dump it on others, and probably there will be some disinflation. But I want your information, your analysis just out of the MPC altogether. I'm asking you purely as a trade expert, the question that my colleague Ritu asked you. If there are reciprocal tariffs, say 6.5%, how do you see it playing out? Do you think that our automobile industry could be impacted because we have slashed tariffs on cars and bikes? Do you think a pharmaceutical industry, there is always a danger that the US will increase tariffs on chemicals and pharmaceuticals? What, according to you, how according to you will this reciprocal play, going by what we all know at this point in time?
Yeah, well, first of all, the dependence of United States on Indian generics, the affordable medicines, is very large. And I mean, very large proportion of our pharmaceutical exports are actually directed to United States. But as we all know, the price elasticity of pharmaceuticals tends to be very low. And so if you need a medicine, you need a medicine. And so the domestic supply is not going to become available immediately. It will take time. Tariffs, the objective of the President of United States is to use tariffs to increase domestic production, which is not going to happen overnight. So my sense is that he increasing the tariffs will only result in rising prices of these products in United States, and it may not hurt India's exports very much. On auto, I think we don't export too many cars to United States. We do export some components, of course, in a very significant manner, but not the finished autos. And, so I don't see a major earth-shaking kind of impact on India. There will be, many other countries which will be perhaps affected more than India, and if we are able to continue engaging their teams in negotiations, we may be able to kind of further reduce the damage that can be inflicted on India.
Well, Mr. Nagesh Kumar, many thanks for sharing your views on that important topic, the reciprocal tariffs and the impact that is going to have, and of course sharing your insights on the MPC minutes. On that note, Lata, I'm going to thank you as well, and we're going to slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere. We're back in just a moment with more news and updates.